We are going to be looking at the Detroit Lions offensive stat predictions for 2019. We are back, and in this video, we are just going to be looking at the offensive predictions. Now, if you guys were with my other channel, you will know that I did a lot of these statistical prediction videos, and I was more into detail, like the wide receiver position. I talked about all the wide receivers, what their stats would be, but in this video, we're not going to be doing that. This is kind of like a fantasy thing, and I don't like fantasy, but basically what I'm doing here, I'm taking the main players, the key players on offense. I'm not going too into detail. Like, I'm not going to talk about Brandon Powell's stats. One, because he may not make the team, and two, if he does make the team and he has some stats that are going to be so small, really doesn't matter. We don't care about that. We want to hear about the main players, right? So we're going to do it. We have 7 players on this list for this offense, and let's get right into it. And again, we are skipping the offensive line because I don't really know what the stats would be there. So we're going to start off with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford didn't hit 4,000 passing yards last season, which was actually the first time in a long time he hasn't hit 4,000 yards. So I believe he will get that this season with 4,001 yards, and I 100% believe that. Why? Well, because Matthew Stafford is going to have a lot of passing yards once again, because Darrell Bevel, this new offense, probably will run more than they did last season, but they still will mix in that pass, and I think Matthew Stafford will be more consistent. I think he'll be a better quarterback here in 2019 with a balanced offense, and I think he'll hit enough big shots to get 4,001 passing yards. But he will only have 23 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. 10 interceptions, not very bad there. 23 touchdowns, not a lot. They're not Pro Bowl numbers, but no one really cares about the Pro Bowl at this point. I just want to win, so that's my stats. Again, if you guys want to know what the Detroit Lions stats will be for 2019 exactly, stay tuned because I'm about to go through the rest of the players. So coming up now, we have Kerryon Johnson, who I have having 209 carries. This is not a lot. I understand it's a lot for Kerryon for what he's used to because he was injured last season, but it's not a crazy amount. Why? Well, because the Detroit Lions aren't going to overuse him. They're not going to make Kerryon Johnson a feature back. They have so many running backs, they like to keep guys fresh. They're not going to put all of that on a young guy like Kerryon Johnson who already had to deal with an injury, even though he's fine now. I see him getting 209 carries, but having a huge season once again with 1,105 yards. He was on pace to have a huge 1,000-yard season if he did not get hurt last year. So I believe he will hit that with 1,105 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 receiving touchdowns. I like what I'm seeing from Kerryon Johnson out of the backfield catching the ball. I think twice this year we'll see him get into the end zone. Next up, we have C.J. Anderson. So I did put 2 running backs on here. C.J. Anderson, a running back that's coming in now from the Rams. Some people have some high hopes for him. I do a little bit more than I did LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette Blount was kind of a waste. Like, he's not what we were expecting him to be. I think C.J. Anderson could be more of that. A big, powerful running back. I don't think he'll get as much attempts, not even really close, as Kerryon Johnson got. I think he'll get 62. They have 312 yards on 62 rushing attempts with 3 touchdowns. 3 of those touchdowns will be right next to the end zone. We'll be giving it to him in the goal line. He'll power his way in. I see that happening 3 times, so that's very solid for C.J. Anderson. And again, remember, we have some other running backs that I'm not mentioning here. Then we have Kenny Galladay. We're on to the wide receiver group. I have him getting 66 receptions for 998 yards. Not hitting that 1,000 mark like he did last season. I know a lot of people believe he will, and he is a great player, but he may take a little bit of a decrease here with so much depth at the wide receiver position. I like the running back position. I think the Lions will mix in guys, keep guys ready to go, especially because he's still rehabbing this offseason. I don't think they want to force him out there, and I don't think they want to put that big load that they did last season. Last season was pretty rough. Okay, it was basically Kenny Galladay or a bust for the Detroit Lions offense. I don't want to see that this year, and I don't think that'll happen. Also have 5 touchdown grabs, so that's pretty good. Moving on to Marvin Jones Jr., who again missed with injuries last year. I think he'll have 52 receptions, so that's 14 less than what Kenny Galladay did, but he'll have some huge yard numbers, 806 yards for 4 touchdowns. Marvin Jones Jr. is a guy that catches deep balls better than a lot of players in the league. When you look at Pro Football Focus stats, he was one of the best deep route wide receivers in the NFL. With that being said, I think he'll have a huge season in 2019. He'll kind of silence all the haters because I know there's some questions. I'm not saying you guys, but I know people have been talking about Marvin Jones Jr. like, he's not the same guy. I think Marvin Jones Jr. will come out and play really well for the Detroit Lions, be a really good number 2 wide receiver. Then we move on to the tight end position. We have 2 players left for this offense, and we have the rookie T.J. Hockenson, who I believe will be the number 1 tight end coming into the season. I don't think his role will be overly huge because he is a rookie. We have a lot of tight ends here. We have Logan Thomas. That's probably going to be our 3rd tight end, but then you also have other guys like Isaac Nauta, who are still on the roster as a rookie. So there's going to be depth there, like I said, with a lot of position and guys that are going to rotate because we're confident in a lot of these guys. So with T.J. Hockenson, I see him getting 49 receptions for 516 yards and, yes, 6 touchdowns, okay? Not crazy stats. He'll get a lot of targets, maybe not a whole bunch of receptions, but I think near the goal lines where he'll stand out with 6 touchdowns. Short lines will go to him often, being a rookie, like, hey, go show us what you can do. He's going to show you what you can do.
That's what you can do for your country.
What he can do. And then we have Jesse James coming up next, the other tight end that'll be across from TJ Hockenson most of the time. I have him getting 42 receptions, 7 less than what TJ Hockenson is getting, for 419 yards and 3 touchdowns. So just a little bit worse in stats than TJ Hockenson, but again, another big season there for Jesse James, who really hasn't had that breakout season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but with the Detroit Lions being such a young tight end, at some point I think he will. So these are my stat predictions for the Detroit Lions offense. Again, there is so much depth and there's so many good players that can sub in. I expect a lot of guys to get time here, and I expect a lot of moving pieces. So I don't think one guy's going to have any crazy stats. I am hopeful, and I believe that Matthew Stafford will hit that 4,000 yard mark once again. These are my stat predictions. Let me hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Pride, for watching, and I'm out.